Hello, everyone, and welcome to week two. This week, we are going to be focusing on strong sentence construction and how to make your writing clearer and more direct. By the end of this lesson, you should be able to identify weak sentences, structures like passive voice and nominalizations. You should be able to revise sentences using active voice, build clear subject and object sentences with verbs included, and apply all these strategies in your writing notebook to entry utilizing James Baldwin's essay. One of the things I want to add is that strong writers don't just have good ideas, they build sentences that move. Right now, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen here in just a second because, of course, I am still working on the loveliness of Zoom. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen here. Hopefully you can see it. So I have our objectives up here, and that is to identify passive voice and nominalizations, to revise sentences using active voice. Again, like I just said, maintain strong subject, verb, object structure, and to apply sentences to Baldwin and the issue that you identified in week one in your entry. So that with that being said, we are going to go ahead. Last week, many of you wrote about real issues that were connected to language and identity. One of the entries that I noticed was actually connected and centered around immigration and ICE and how language actually shapes how people are perceived. But today I wanted to go ahead and note that we're not necessarily debating issues, but we are going to focus on how writers use language responsibly and clearly, because strong sentences actually help you express complex ideas without confusion. So as we go on, we're going to be looking at how language works in writing and how strong sentences can help express complex ideas more clearly. So as I move into that, we're going to go ahead and start with passive voice. One of the examples that I have here is to show you what a passive voice sentence structure looks like. If and I'm not saying that anyone did this, but this is an example. This is a weak passive voice example. Issues were experienced by immigrants because of language. That is in the passive voice, and it needs to be revised to be an active voice. So, to make it more strong, the revision would be language differences create challenges for some immigrants. Because it is now an active voice, the sentence is more clear and it is more direct. Um, because of the weak sentences, it really makes the action feel more distant. Um, and that's kind of what James Baldwin does in his writing. It's really, really important. One of the things that James Baldwin says is language reveals the speaker. He has a strong subject, he has a strong verb, and he has a clear meaning in his um, excerpt. So, as to the next slide, I'm going to talk a little bit about nominalizations, and you have a full PowerPoint slideshow for that. But the nominalizations, an example of the nominalization is there was a discussion about identity that makes it weak, but what makes it stronger is to say we discussed identity. So you want to always look when you are editing and revising your work. You want to look for words that have endings like ton, ment, and ance, because those are nominalizations. With that being said, so very sorry. Um, Going to go back to what I said about James Baldwin. Actually, I'm going to go back to productive paragraph structure. So you're going to need in your paragraph, in your writing notebook entry 2 this week, you're going to need a topic sentence. You're going to need some support from James Baldwin. You're going to connect it to the issue that you identified in week 1. And then you will need a clear and very good concluding sentence. And I have a handout that I'm going to share with you as well that's already uploaded into week 2, but it does have the information that is needed. So again, with James Baldwin, one of the things that I want to point out, if, for example, someone says there is an exploration of language, the stronger revision to that would be Baldwin argues that language shapes identity. And that just makes it more clear, more close to the reader itself. Same idea, just stronger action. And that's really, really important. So with that being said, I want to kind of show you a sample paragraph model here in the PowerPoint. So basically what you've got here, I'm sorry, my dogs are going a little bit bonkers right now. He gives us a perfect model. So he argues, James Baldwin argues that language shapes identity and power within society. He explains that people develop language to understand and control their experience. This idea connects to our week 1 discussions about how language influences how people are understood, especially when discussing immigration or cultural identity. By using clear and active language, writers can present complex issues thoughtfully rather than relying on vague statements. That is just a sample productive paragraph. We have our topic sentence here. I'm going to go ahead and highlight that so that you can see this. And I will use the highlighting tool here. And I don't know if I can insert a comment here, but this is a topic sentence. Let's see here. Again, I'm still learning. Yeah, right here, new comments. So I'm just going to put the comments here. This is a strong topic sentence, and I cannot type today, so I apologize. And then I'm going to enter that comment so that you can see that, and it's highlighted in yellow. And then I am going to show you again in the second one, going back to our productive paragraph structure, we're going to have some support. Now, we haven't gotten to anything that has quotations, citations, any of that. Right now, we're just paraphrasing, but I am using evidence to explain my point. And so I am going to add in that information supporting details with the strong verbs. So I have explain. So I'm going to highlight that. So now I'll use a different color. So I'll use green. And then I've got connects also in green. Using is another one. And for now, because you're an emerging writer, I don't want you to like over critique your writing. Let me give you the feedback and then you can revise from there. I'm going to go ahead and insert comments on these. The words highlighted in green are strong verbs. So I'm going to go ahead and hit the enter button here so that you can see that. We have clear subjects, clear verbs. We have the evidence utilized as well. He's explaining, he is showing, he is connecting. And then, of course, in my last sentence here, I'm going to change the highlight color. I will go to blue. And then I'm going to insert a comment here and put in, this is a clear conclusion sentence that connects everything together. So that you can see here, we have our supports, and I will underline here, underline, and then I'm going to insert another comment, underlined sentences are the supporting details to the topic sentence. So you can use this as a model, and I will email this PowerPoint to you as well. You can use it as a model when you are going to develop your response to your writing notebook entry 2 for the class. But it certainly does help to be able to have that information. I am less interested in perfection. One of the things that students try to always do is make everything perfect. That's not going to happen. Remember that you are an emerging writer. You are learning to write effectively. So for writing notebook 2, you're going to apply all of these strategies, the active verbs and the active writing. You're going to revise weak sentences. You're going to build stronger subject and verb and object structures and create your own paragraph that responds to the text as well as the issue that you identified last week. You also have your grammar practice sheet for class this week. And then one thing I want you to remember is that strong writing equals clear subjects plus strong verbs and direct ideas. And like I said, I'm less interested in perfection and more interested in you actively revising your sentences and practicing that writing. So that's one of the biggest things that I wanted you to take away this week. Obviously, you're going to again connect Baldwin to your week 1 issue. You're going to use active voice and strong verbs. You're going to revise weak sentences, and you'll build one productive paragraph for your writer's notebook entry 2. And then just remember, strong writing is clear and active and purposeful, and you're going to focus on clarity, not necessarily perfection. I'm going to stop sharing the screen with you, and I'm going to go back into my Brightspace here just to make sure that you are ready to work on the assignments for this week. So let me just share my screen again and point out everything that is due this week. So here I'm going to share. Okay, so we're going to go to content for week 2. This has your week 2 objectives. And again, I went over that on the PowerPoint, but it has everything that you plan on being able to do this week. It has your week 2 assignments. You're going to read chapter 3 in the Harrop textbook. You're going to take notes on the PowerPoints. Take the quiz on active and passive voice that is located under assessments right here. You see where my arrow is pointing to. You can just click on assessments and go to quizzes, and it should be there. And then you have under assignments, if you go to Dropbox, you have, of course, your writing notebook entry 2. Notice it has this release condition next to it. So that means you will have to view all of the content in the module before you can complete the assignments. And that is extremely important because you are an emerging writer. And then if you will scroll down, you will see week 2 grammar practice. I do have to update the date, so let me go ahead and do that right now. Because again, as I told you the first week, this is a work in progress. And your video won't even go live until next week. So it's going to be due on February 18th at your assignment will be due on February 18th, 2026. Your video will go live on February 11th. And then your assignments, of course, is going to be due on, sorry, did I say February 11th? February 12th. On February 18th. So you're seeing the live and in person. If you are struggling and cannot figure out how to get to the assignments, I have attached the assignments, particularly with the grammar practices. What you will do is you will just click on it and it will download to your computer, and then you can type directly on it. Click Save and Close. I will click Save and Close. After you've downloaded it, then you can type directly onto it, and then you can submit it to the Dropbox. So that will be there as well. Additionally, I'm going to go back to content for week 2. You have your assignments listed. You have a Word document here that does also go over understanding active and passive voice. It's just a reference handout. I'm one of those people where I like to have things that I can write on and print out, and so I always provide those for students. Then I have the PowerPoint presentation. It is narrated by yours truly. So unfortunately, you'll have to see my face yet again in the PowerPoint as you listen to it. One thing I would like to do is to show you, this is a single paragraph outline template. You can download this and utilize this, and I don't know if it will show on my screen right now, but this is just a guide for you to show you exactly what to follow as you are developing your paragraphs. It is just a graphic organizer. It is very helpful. I would print out a few of these so that you would have them for your assignments that you have to do, your writing notebook entries, because it will help tremendously in that sense, and then go from there. I'm going to go back to week 2. And then I'm going to show you your reading. Here is the excerpt from James Baldwin. The title of his essay is If Black English Isn't a Language, Then Tell Me What Is. It was published in 1979, and this is just an excerpt. It is not the full essay. If you're interested in reading the full essay, you can most certainly find the full essay. It is very readily available on Google, but I've only given you an excerpt because it is quite a bit longer. But you can connect this excerpt to the issue that you identified, because the issue that I asked you to identify in week 1 was surrounding a language, particularly perception and things of that nature. So, and of course that will build up to your research papers that you're going to do by the end of this course. Your grammar practices here, and here's your writing notebook entry 2. Again, this is the teacher view, so it does show what you have to do before you're able to submit the assignments. But I'm asking you in MLA format to write a 5 to 8 sentence paragraph on the following prompt, and that is: using Baldwin's ideas, examine how language can influence identity, power, or opportunity related to the issue that you discussed in week 1. So, for example, the student that was discussing the issues with immigration, certainly that is something that you can apply to this. You'll need to use, now this is part of the rubric, to use at least 3 strong active voice sentences in your response. And so that's what you have for week 2. So your week 2 assignments, I'll click on them just so you can see them again. Read chapter 3, take notes on the PowerPoint. The quiz on active and passive voice, I am going to edit this because I don't call them paragraphs anymore. I call them writer's notebook entry 2. So you're going to do that. Writing notebook entry 2, Baldwin's essay response, connected to issue from, I can't spell today, week 1. Now, you do not have a discussion board this week, but you will have a discussion board on week 3. I am also going to create an open discussion board for questions that you can pose. It's not a graded discussion board or anything like that, but that way you can post questions and converse with your classmates. It's a voluntary thing, and it'll just be open the whole semester. It won't be graded or anything like that, but that way you'll have a place to ask questions just in case you don't get a response from me immediately. Every time I open Brightspace, I will see if someone has posted, and it will give me a notification as far as that. Hopefully, this will help you with your assignments this week. But if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me. The biggest thing is I want you to understand that you need to produce one clear and productive paragraph. It does need to have three active sentences in it with active voice usage because that is the skill that we are working on to make sure that we meet our objectives for the week. And I will email the PowerPoint to you that I referenced during this video. But just keep remembering that you really need to utilize the resources that I'm providing to you and reach out if you have questions. You have to be an advocate for yourself, especially because this is an online course and it's not meeting in person. So there's not really a space or a place for us to meet in person. And I make these videos week by week. But anyway, if you have questions, reach out, email me, text me, call me. I'm in the office all weekends. And I'm looking forward to seeing what you put together. You should start to see feedback from me this week. But anyway, I hope you guys have a fantastic week. I know it's Fair Week and things are very chaotic for a lot of people. But if you should have questions, just please reach out to me. I'm going to stop the screen share now and have a fantastic week. I hope you guys have a great Valentine's Day, and I will see you next week.